This is Sparta!
Sorry, Leonidas, we're not in Sparta this time. Instead, we're visiting another ancient civilization famous for its creation of aqueducts, corrupt emperors, and hosting the arguably most historically significant blood sport, gladiator fighting. You guessed it, we're talking about ancient Rome. And today, I'll be walking you through step by step on how to survive as an ancient Roman gladiator. First off, before we even get into the fights you all know about, you are going to need to know about why the gladiators were needed and about the people behind the scenes that were really running the show. During the prime of Rome's empire, the citizens often got bored and yearned for entertainment. So people came up with the idea of pitting such people as criminals and slaves up against each other in an arena. So for lack of a better term, the gladiator fights were really just sort of
Games. 150 days of games.
It's cleverer than I thought.
As the popularity of gladiator fights increased, a need began for people who managed and traded these gladiators. These people were called lanistae, which loosely translates to owners of gladiators. Note, should you ever find yourselves in the shoes of a gladiator, it is important to remember that the lanistae are in control, so it is definitely a good idea to be respectful towards them.
Gladiators, I salute you.
I got a match coming up.
Some are good for fighting, others for dying. You need both, I think. Get up.
In addition to the lanistae, there are also announcers, the Roman Senate, including the emperor at the given time, and of course, the ever-growing crowd. As for the gladiators themselves, there were a few ways to become one. First, if you were a condemned criminal or prisoner of war, you would be thrust into the arena weaponless and without training, so an early step to not dying would be not to commit any capital crimes. The second way to become a gladiator would be to sell yourselves to lanistae for a living. In other words, becoming an octorati.
Ultimately, we're all dead men. Sadly, we cannot choose how.
Professional gladiators were men who volunteered to fight and inadvertently got a massive boost to social status and were showered in wealth.
The gods favor you. Red is the gods' color. You will need their help today.
Here's a simple 5-step way to learn how to survive as a gladiator. First, train up. Second, acquire your equipment. Third, enter and salute the emperor. Fourth, submit your opponent. And fifth, look for the emperor's call and finish the match. In order to be a successful gladiator, there are a few actions you must take, traits you must possess, and pieces of equipment you'll need. Under actions and traits, your number one priority is to respect the emperor and lanistae. Respect to those above you is key in being a proficient gladiator. It allows you to acquire social standing faster, and it'll keep you out of personal issues with the emperor and senate.
Turn your back on him. Go and die with honor.
Number 2, combat prowess and having restraint against your opponents. Combat prowess is needed to subdue and defeat your enemy, while the restraint later on can better your standing with both crowd and peer. Number 3, training and winning over the crowd. Arguably the most effective way to increase your chances of survival, training and preparation are essential to your gladiatorial experience. Winning favor with the audience is a great way to enhance and enrich your experience as a gladiator, as it gives a significant bonus to your reputation amongst the populace. To do this, simply take into consideration the crowd's opinion on whether to finish or spare your foe. Of course, there's no way to be an effective gladiator without some physical equipment and possessions. Coming in at number 1 on the importance scale of this, weapons and armor. but you'll probably need to disarm and then subdue your opponent. Refuting an old saying, it's never fun and games until somebody gets hurt. When in group combat scenarios, you're definitely going to need some reliable friends. When you're in an arena in a pinch and you're outnumbered, it's always good to have a wingman. Team coordination is essential when fighting large groups of enemies.
Whatever comes out of these gates, we've got a better chance of survival if we work together.
Spoiler alert. Alright, I think it's about time I reveal the film star for this tutorial. And yes, it's Russell Crowe.
Are you not entertained?
In Ridley Scott's Gladiator, the 4-star Roman-style flick from 2000, Russell Crowe plays as Maximus, a Roman general that was betrayed and had his family murdered by a corrupt Roman emperor. Outraged, he goes to Rome disguised as a gladiator to seek revenge.
Loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife. And I will have my vengeance.
Yeah, we got that part, buddy. Yeah, we get it. As actions and traits goes, he didn't really respect the Emperor. He definitely has the combat prowess required due to the fact that he was a general beforehand. And he showed restraint to all victims he wasn't meant to kill immediately. And Maximus was exceptional at pleasing the crowd. Although he did turn down the training offered to him, his previous skill as a general was enough to see him through to the end. Maximus was supplied with the standard weapons and armor needed to harm opponents, and excelled at group coordination and acquiring allies in the arena. Overall, I'd say Maximus, Russell Crowe, did pretty good, and he did achieve his goal of killing Emperor Commodus. However, Maximus did get himself killed in the process. As to how I would do as a gladiator in the arena, I couldn't say off the top of my head, but seeing as how I'm 13 and still physically a little underdeveloped, my physical aspect would be lacking, and I don't have much experience wielding a gladius. So right off the bat, I'm at an immense disadvantage. I'm fairly sociable, but I'm not really good with any group tactics, so even if I had some good teammates to carry me, I believe I'd still be slaughtered.